What's happening everybody, King GBL here and welcome back to a brand new DUCKLETT video. Today I'm going to be showcasing a triple water team featuring DUCKLETT. Of course we have Chinchu, which is here to deal with all of the other DUCKLETTs, and we have DUCKLETT, which I think is a really strong pick in this cup. Of course being able to rip through the grass types and the confusion users, which you will see in this cup. And in general it's just a really nice safe swap, but today we're featuring DUCKLETT, and as you can see, even against this resisted Chinchu, if they let this Brave Bird go through, it's going to do an absolute ton of damage, and that's just why DUCKLETT is so strong in this cup. You either have the bait, or of course you have the hard-hitting Brave Bird. Now, if you're considering using Shadow DUCKLETT, that is a possibility, right? But I would actually 100% recommend just using the normal one. Now, you might be thinking the Shadow one does more damage, but Brave Bird like one-shots almost everything anyway. So it's kind of like Shadow Registeel, where it's like you've got such a hard-hitting move that you know, the fast attack damage isn't really adding up as much. Like Wing Attack is a far better move, obviously, than Lock On. So maybe that's not the best example, but in general, you do want to use the normal one. In terms of IVs, you can see my IVs on screen. I've checked it versus a rank 1, and there's not a huge difference. So like IVs will make a difference at some point, and there may be some breakpoints and things with like Thundershocks against Chinchu, so just make sure you're using like a highly ranked one if you can. Guys, yesterday we hit 1.7k subs, thank you very much everybody. We're in a really kind of spotty patch here in Go Battle League at the moment currently, and I really appreciate all the support. You know, even though like a lot of you guys maybe aren't even playing Go Battle League, a ton of you guys are of course sitting watching the videos and just hanging out with us in Discord. So big thank you, very much appreciated. And if you haven't already, it's absolutely free guys, and I'm going to be uploading a ton of really fun videos for you guys to enjoy. So hit that subscribe button, it's free, and of course hit that like button as well. Really does help out a ton. Now, question of the day here, are you going to be playing the MasterCard Cup, or are you going to be playing the Element Cup this week? Let me know in the comments down below. I done a community post, a lot of you guys seem to enjoy that one. MasterCard Cup is just something I sort of came up with on the fly, but you know, to be honest with you, I wish I could play the MasterCard Cup. I actually quite enjoy Little Cup formats, except for whenever it's got Bronzor, and of course in this Little Cup we've got DUCKLETT. If they were to like actually, you know, care a little bit more about PvP and just remove some of these more broken Pokemon, like you can literally see them on PvPoke, you can just, like I'm sure they have their own systems too, but like if they don't have their own systems, they can go into PvPoke, create a custom thing, and then just custom ranking, and then just, you know, fill it out and see what's going to be broken. So like, you know, they have no excuse not to ban these sort of things. I honestly, personally, I don't mind DUCKLETT whatsoever. I think it is just really beatable. Like, of course you can use grass type moves against it. It's unlike Bronzor, where you really have to specifically set out to beat it. DUCKLETT, it's like very bait dependent, and you can obviously hit it neutral with grass type Pokemon, which of course DUCKLETT is good against. So, you know, there's definitely that. Even Vulpix, I think, will beat it in like the Zero Shield or something, if you just go straight Body Slam, or it'll get very close to beating it. You know, overall, I think the little cup formats are pretty fun, you know, using these little baby Pokemon. But anyway, let's hop into the gameplay here. So, pretty much the strategy behind this team here is you've got a Chinchu lead. Why do we have a Chinchu lead? Because there are DUCKLETTs around. If you don't catch a DUCKLETT, because you're running a triple water team, you probably safe swap into DUCKLETT and try to draw out the DUCKLETT. With DUCKLETT, if they don't throw a move, you'll be able to get off 2 Bubble Beams, which will allow you to really comfortably survive a Brave Bird on your Chinchu, and even consider over farming. So that's kind of like the strategy here. And then of course you have DUCKLETT in the back, and you've got the Chinchu there, which basically protects it. Now the one issue for this team is Chinchu itself. You kind of need to line your Chinchu up with theirs. The one thing is, again, like this is a triple Bubble Beam team. So let's say the opponent swaps into Chinchu, you can always look to Bubble Beam it, and with the Bug Bites on DUCKLETT, you can look to take Switch potentially if you're willing to invest a shield or two. Depending on if the opponent wants to invest shields as well. So this triple Bubble Beam team works really well, and you know, Chinchu, like I said, is definitely the most difficult thing to deal with, because it's basically double super effective against your Duck. In this matchup right here, we've got a Wooper, which can be like, you know, okay. I think this opponent's only got one move here. My elo's been completely crashed into like the 2300s at this point, and I think like most good players are, you know, definitely in around the expert range. So I'm playing a little bit of catch up here after the last couple of weeks and after Go Battle Day. We do manage to catch, I think this is going to be a Brave Bird on the Chinchu. You'd love to see that. And yeah, this was getting close. I should have just swapped out sooner, but in comes the Whoop Boy again, and he's just going to get absolutely clapped by the Brave Bird. GG's to the opponent. So I went pretty positive with this team, and I think this team is what I'll probably try to run. So we have a negative lead here, and this is what you're going to do against this. You swap into your Boyo here. See, both of your back Pokemon, even though water types, can deal with grass types. That's what's good about this team. We're going to go for Bubble Beams. I need to look up a sim on this matchup, but I think you will just go straight Bubble Beam. And now in comes DUCKLETT, and this is perfect, right? You're drawing out the DUCKLETT. You've already got the Cottony down to half health, and you've got your own DUCKLETT to deal with that. And here's the thing, guys. One Thunderbolt does like, I'm not going to give you an exact number, but let's say like 40-50% to one of those. So if we come in here and get a farm down, and we'll have a Thunderbolt loaded for Cottony. And because we've already got this debuff, the opponent's going for a debuff of their own. The opponent most likely wants to get a debuff, and of course a Brave Bird. We're on about 95% health, that doesn't even get us into the yellow because of the debuffs. From full health it gets you down to maybe around 30% health or so without any debuffs. And at this point, look at this go through, look. That done an okay amount of damage. I think this is a more highly ranked Cottony here. So like, we can let that go at that point and look to farm down. Now in comes Seal, and ladies and gents, we are just full sending, we are full YOLOing the Brave Bird. The opponent's win condition is to call us, they do call it, and we just full send it. Sometimes whenever it's so obvious, like, oh, 2 shields, oh ho, here comes the bubble beam. Yeah, right buddy, yeah right, the duck does not mess around here. Look at those, look into those eyes folks, look into those eyes. Does that look like somebody who baits? I think not, but we're gonna get Razor Leaf down here, and we don't get Razor Leaf down because we just about take it. That was kind of close there. But I couldn't let that match with Seal get, you know, too long and deep, because they're going to Icy Wind me, and it's going to be neutral damage, and I'll be bubble beaming them, and next thing you know, I'm like 30 health coming out of the matchup, you know, so, and then at that point, the Cottony just charms me down, and I'm already debuffed, so I can't do anything with the wing attacks, so I just had to fully YOLO the bird. The opponent fully YOLOs the bird here, and if they do decide to YOLO another one, I'm just going to let it go free. It is Bubble Beam. Maybe that was only enough for Bubble Beam. I think this time, guys, I really do need to look up Sims in this matchup here. But the opponent shields that, which is kind of nuts. I think the opponent kind of knows that these do add up, and we're just going to go for a second Bubble Beam at this point. We can happily let the opponent take us out here. See, I'm almost tempted to shield us, and we actually do swap out here, because I'm thinking if they have a Ducklet of their own in the back, I kind of need my Chinchu for their Ducklet. So I feel like Chinchu is like the glue of this team, right? Chinchu is here to basically hold everything together, and if you don't really catch a Ducklet on the lead, you know, you might want to hold on to it. In comes a Seal, so this is looking quite good. I'm farming up to the back-to-back Brave Birds. I'll shield up the first one here. Already just at an Aqua Tail here. I could have just let that go. I think I farm over 100 energy, but that's absolutely fine. Brave Bird number 1, the opponent lets it through, and we go for the farm down. And of course we have Brave Bird number 2 loaded, and we're just going to fire it off. As simple as that, folks. Cottony is quite an interesting one in this cup. And we're hopping into the next one here. We get the lead that we're looking for, and let's see what the opponent does. The opponent's staying in for a minute here. I'm thinking they might go for a catch, so I just fire the Bubble Beam. That's what I'm oftentimes doing, just firing off the Bubble Beam, making a swap, coming into Jupiter here, and just looking to clean up. And the great thing is here, we're going to double debuff it, and that'll allow us to easily eat a Seed Bomb. You can already eat a Seed Bomb. I think in one of these matches I shielded a Seed Bomb. This might be the one I shielded it. This is not the correct play, guys. This is already double debuffed. I think my thinking here was just to like really 100% guarantee switch, because as you can see, like, it actually got me down quite low there, so that one Seed Bomb may have made a difference. But in this cup, if possible, take switch. Now I think this is a matchup where I made a big mistake. In comes Execute, and we're going for a Bubble Beam, a bit of an unnecessary Bubble Beam here, and I come in with Jupiter here. Now this is where thinking about, right, we're going to rip this to shreds here. Look how quickly you fire through this thing. Kind of crazy. I don't think I need to shield that Seed Bomb once again, but like I said, I'm just trying to keep my Jupiter healthy, because I know they've got a Slowpoke, and this thing rips through Slowpoke as well. So like, one thing I could have considered doing was coming in with Ducklet, but then the thing with Ducklet is I will have to shield up a potential Ancient Power from the Execute. So normally, like, guys, if you're seeing Slowpoke in the lead, just assume that there's an Execute in the back. These two just go together just all the time. The opponent's now taking out my, well, they're almost taking it out, and in comes Cottony. Yeah, so like, I think it could have been in consideration to maybe like hold on to Jupiter, just thinking they might be very, very weak to it. And yeah, we just one-shot this thing anyway. I think there's a match up later on where you're going to see me like swapping into Jupiter against something that's not an Execute, and then wishing that I had Jupiter later. Really good lead here. In comes the swap, and we're just going to debuff this before we leave. This is pretty much what we do most of the time. And I think here we come into Jupiter. These mud shots are resisted, so this is a really strong matchup for Jupiter. And in general, like, I do like to keep Ducklet in the closing position. You know, even if it would be slightly more favorable for Ducklet, I do like to not safe swap it in, because I think it's just such a strong closer. Yeah, the opponent, they're trying their absolute best here, but these bug bites are just ripping through it. And these body slams are not doing anything here. In comes Ducklet again. This is a really aggressive swap by the opponent, considering they know I've got Chinchu, and we're just going to swap it back in here. At this point, we can eat a Brave Bird. I think, like, guys, I think you really do consider shielding Brave Bird. Is the opponent's not even building up to it, which is nuts, bro. Like, these bubble beams do nothing. And the thing is, you're giving me more farm by debuffing the crap out of me. I do decide to fire off a Bubble Beam here before they do get to a potential Brave Bird, and go for a bit of a farm down. Again, this is another Bubble Beam. It's like, bro, bro, do you have one move on this thing? What's going on here? In comes the Whooper, and of course we have a lot of energy on this, so I'll be happy to store the energy, go into my own Ducklet, and look to sweep with this thing. In comes their Chinchu, and this is looking kind of tough now. This is kind of looking tough now. See, it's almost worth considering, like, if the opponent swaps in something, right, there's always a chance they've got a Chinchu in the back. The opponent just goes for Bubble Beams. I don't know what the opponent's doing here. There's always a chance they've got a Chinchu in the back, right? So if you can see like an opportunity to get your Ducklet out safely and not get it completely wrecked by Chinchu, that could be a consideration for you. And I think it's something I might try to do going forward. I think in general you don't really want to swap into Ducklet. We go for a Bubble Beam here. I probably should just commit to the Thunderbolt. The opponent is shielded up. We go for a second Bubble Beam, thinking the opponent will double shield it. And they do double shield it. This is getting super close. The opponent lets us farm us down. And the opponent does get to a move, but we of course have a shield. And this is going to be a good game. You know, so it really, like, I think, you know, because this is the first day of the Cup, it's a little bit difficult to make these team reads, and I think this is the first time Ducklet has been this powerful in this Cup, so this is pretty much like a new meta, and people are playing this a completely different way to how they've played it before. I personally have only ever played the Element Cup remix, which I think got Jupiter banned, or maybe it was the Jungle Cup remix, I can't remember which one it was. So this is a pretty bad lead here, guys. I know it's a neutral lead, and the opponent swaps out, so I'm pretty happy to see this. Even though debuff, this will put a chip into this thing, and at this point, this is where you come into Ducklet, right? The opponent has, of course, the Chinchu, so I want to get rid of this Ducklet and just leave myself a better chance to take it out. I could consider just full Brave Birding it. I do decide to go for a shield. Again, I'm not too sure if I like this, but we're farming it down, we're getting a ton of energy. So at the very least, we can double debuff this Chinchu, or maybe even like single debuff it and look to Brave Bird. Because we are not debuffed here, and this one Brave Bird will do so much. The opponent shields up the first one. Are they going to shield the second one? The opponent knows that this does a lot of damage, and we're already up a shield now. At this point, we can come up and go straight Thunderbolt. The opponent will probably go for a bait here, but they do full send the Thunderbolt, and I could have even overfarmed a little bit, but at this point, I'm just happy to get rid of this Chinchu, and look to sweep with Dewpider. In comes Ducklet, and I think we're going to eat a Bubble Beam, because the opponent's not even building up to the move. Guys, you have to at least build up to the move, but Chinchu does win CMP, so there's not really a whole lot the opponent can do here. It's going to be a good game, and you're seeing in these matches that a lot of these are just RPS wins. In comes Vulpix. Here's a really fun fact for you guys. So, I go straight for Bubble Beam, right? The opponent does not have to shield this because it'll do less than like 40%, yeah. If you're in the zero shield scenario versus Vulpix, you have to go for Thunderbolt. You might think, oh, go for the super effective Bubble Beam, makes sense, right? No. Vulpix beats so many things in this copy in the zero shield. Like, it beats Chinchu in the zero shield if you go Bubble Beam, right? So you have to go for the Thunderbolt. I think it's the same thing with Ducklet, like you have to go Brave Bird in the zero shield, which obviously that makes sense, like why would you not go for the Brave Bird, but just something to keep in mind, guys. And in comes, we both insta-swap here, and we just absolutely rip through this thing. Now, I think I'm going to shield this here, because this Bubble Beam will do a decent amount of damage, and if I can get the opponent's shields down, I've got like a full health Chinchu almost, and of course the Ducklet. I tried to get to another Bubble Beam, and I just couldn't get it off there. I think I should have just insta-swapped out and went for the farm down with Duck, but I was trying to threaten the opponent's last shield there. That happened to me a couple of times. We're just YOLOing the Brave Bird here at this point because we have a full health Chinchu. There's no need to bait it, the opponent just lets it go, and we go for the farm down with our own Chinchu. In comes Vulpix, and good games. So somebody in Discord, KitKat, was asking me, when do you Brave Bird? In my opinion, like, it is 50-50 most of the time, to be fair. I usually have this Pokemon in the sort of endgame scenario. So, like, honestly, if the opponent has 2 shields, and, you know, like, it's not a guaranteed win for them, right? Or it's like, you know, if they have to call the baits. In my opinion, like, if your win condition is for the opponents to double shield your bait, you probably just send the Brave Bird, in my opinion. Because a lot of opponents, like, if they need to shield a Brave Bird, they'll try to call a bait, if that makes sense. Again, it's just a 50-50, and, like, I get it wrong a lot of the time, because, again, you know, you flip a coin, and that's just how it goes, but, yeah, I would just recommend maybe, like, say, for example, in that situation earlier with Vulpix, the Vulpix on, like, 5 health, right? I've got almost a full health Chinchu. You just full send the Brave Bird. The opponent's win condition, like, the only way they win is if I Bubble Beam them and they Brave Bird me. That's the only way they win, and I've got like a full health Chinchu, and even if they do Brave Bird me, I can just farm it down with Chinchu, right? So like in those situations, you full YOLO the bird. Sometimes like on the swap, like if you do happen to bring in your Pokemon, you can look to maybe Brave Bird on the swap because opponents don't expect it. The opponent's got like a pretty much anti-Ducklet team here, and yeah, in comes Jupiter, and they see the mirror match and realize we're even a little bit ahead on energy, so we'll get off the debuffs first. Once again, we get a Ducklet lead, which you love to see. You're going to see a ton of Ducklet leads, and that is just why Chinchu is a great Pokemon here. We win CMP, And again, like, we can live a Brave Bird, they cannot live a Thunderbolt. The opponent shields it, and, you know, I'm just gonna let this go. I'm gonna let this go at this point. It is a Bubble Beam. The opponent has to get out of here, bro. I'm gonna go for a Bubble Beam as well, see if they want to shield it up, and the opponent will be getting to a Brave Bird here soon. I think I can live a Brave Bird. We'll see what the opponent wants to do. We did comfortably live it, and in comes Execute. I was a little bit slow in the swap there, but I'm sort of happy enough here just to actually, you know, think about what I'm wanting to swap in, and just fully farming down with Jupiter. We're going to single shield this, knowing that we can get at least a debuff off in the final Pokemon here. The opponent will be unlikely to bring in their own Pokemon here. I was going to insta-swap out, and it is one of these boyos. So we've got a Ducklet and a Jupiter against this, so I'm really glad I shielded that. That's kind of what I was maybe expecting, like, oh, what if they have a Chinchou in the back? Jupiter is my only real chance here. We already have 2 debuffs off, and this is looking quite good at this point. I could have considered just sacrificing Ducklet, but these wing attacks will add up a little bit. We're just going to try and stay in here as much as possible, get them to throw off their energy if I can, because we are getting this low. The opponent goes for the Thunderbolt, and at this point we can just farm up to 1 before the Brave Bird, go for the Bubble Beam. But I think I should be able to wing attack down here, and I'm definitely just going to outpace to a move here at this point. This Bubble Beam should just about take out, and that's going to be a good game. So, you know, again, that's why Chinchou lead is so powerful. Ducklets are everywhere, and we get a Pharaoh Seed lead, which is quite an interesting one. Now, this looks like a bad lead, but this thing only knows Steel-type moves and Tackle, which of course are resisted by my whole backline and everything. So at this point, we'll just chip it and dip it. The opponent dips out at the same time, and they dip into a Cottony. At this stage, I'm going for just the usual debuffs. Guys, I really struggle to throw in good timing on these charm users with single turn moves. So if you see me letting them through charms, I just want you to know that I know, but I'm just struggling to do it. It's, you know, maybe it's because I'm listening to the sound, it makes it kind of awkward. Now, I decide to take Switch here and go for a debuff on the next Pokemon that comes in, and of course I'm on low health, so they can't get a ton of farm, and in comes Ducklet. This is perfect. On this team, if possible, try to take Switch, even though it is triple water. These 3 water types are doing different things, right? Your electric type, of course, is taking care of Ducklets. I do decide to shield up a potential Brave Bird, considering it is a Shadow, and we come in ahead in here with this. Now, these are all resisted, so I can maybe even look to fully farm down here. These Iron Heads will add up after a while, and what I decide to do here, I think, is actually throw a Bubble Beam, just to see if I can attempt the opponent to shield. I can like go for back-to-back Bubble Beams, and maybe get a shield or 2 off the opponent. The opponent is thinking that they just want to get rid of this Ducklet if possible, because they have a Ducklet of their own. Can we get the wing attack down in time? We do. And we're going to look to get off another debuff. Even though this is a Shadow Ducklet, at this point 1 Brave Bird should not take out. I actually go for Bubble Beam. I should have just committed to the Thunderbolt at this point. But yeah, this is going to force the opponent to top left. And guys, that is Ducklet in the Elemental Cup. This thing is just broken, and it's not as bad as Bronzer, definitely not. But I highly recommend trying out this team. You've got the Chinchou to deal with, of course, pretty much all your Ducklets and everything. You've got your Ducklet to deal with literally everything except for Chinchou and Pet Little, which I haven't seen yet. Or Lilligant, sorry, it's Lilligant, I think. Of course, Jupiter is just so neutral and so safe. Rips through Grass type. As you can see, it can do quite well even against Chinchou, which is, of course, super effective. And this team has just got triple Bubble Beam. So I did go very positive with this team, and I highly recommend trying it out. Let me know in the comments, guys, you're going to play this or Master League this season, or this week. And thank you very much for watching, everybody. Hit that like button, subscribe, join us in Discord in the description down below. And we have memberships active on the channel. We currently don't have any members, so if you're interested in becoming a member, feel free to check out the join button, which will be down below. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a fantastic rest of your day.